Hi, everybody. My name is Rena Amaranthine, and I would love to welcome you to this Renegade Con's World of Darkness Storyteller Roundtable. Obviously, I have been possessed by the spirit of Count Orlok, aka Nosferatu, and of course, I could not do a roundtable on my own, so I'm going to I'm going to have each of my storytellers introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk a little bit about World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade, all of those, all of these spooky, scary things that you can do in these supernatural games. So Fabian, would you like to go first?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Fabian Lile. I am a producer for Bedhouse RPG. We run a lot of like World of Darkness content. Mainly we have an in-universe kind of title called Darkness Eternal. So we have stuff ranging from things in the United States all the way to Itaewon in South Korea. We have some games set in Manila, and soon enough we'll have a game set in Macau. So yeah.
Chris?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Cologne. I am the GM, performer, producer, all the hats over on Taino Tales, which is my channel where I produce a bunch of stuff from various games for urban fantasy and horror and whatnot. In terms of World of Darkness, I was one of the few individuals when Werewolf the Apocalypse 5e came out. I did it over with the lovely folks over at Bat House, and we ran an all-Latin werewolf game about a bunch of motorcycle werewolves. It was awesome. So that's me.
And last but not least, Hector.
Hello, I am Hector Manuel Reyes, aka Okami, all over the internet. I am a almost like 20 plus year World of Darkness storyteller and enthusiast. I have played, I cut my teeth on Vampire the Masquerade LARP scene back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I have been running various World of Darkness properties my whole life. I've only been doing actual play for about 4 years now. I am currently the steward, as I call myself, over at the House of Dreams actual play channel, but I'm all over the internet.
Yay! And we're so excited to have you all here and to have you talking about World of Darkness and like your experiences with it and sort of helping usher in the future of storytellers, because you got a lot of people who want to play these World of Darkness games and less people who are confident in leading them. So I'm hoping that at least part of this roundtable can be, showing people that it's not that hard and it's not that scary and it's a lot of fun and you get to do very cool things when you're the storyteller. So my first question is, what drew you to World of Darkness over other sort of similar RPGs? Anything else that's like spooky supernatural?
So when I was, I think, 12, I read Interview with the Vampire. And then shortly thereafter, Tale of the Body Thief, which I should not have been reading when I was 12, but hey, it was the 90s. And then around age 14 or so, I was wanting something different than Dungeons and Dragons, even though I liked Dungeons and Dragons. And then I found out about Vampire the Masquerade. And, I kind of flipped through the book, and the book reminded me a lot of Anne Rice's Vampires. And I have been playing it ever since. And that was back in 1994 during the second edition. So that's what really got me into Vampire was, I had read Bram Stoker's Dracula when I was 10. I just sort of consumed whatever vampire novels I wanted. So I got in it because of like the literature and the goth scene.
Of course, the goth scene is so important.
For me, I think I'm the outlier in all this because I've recently run World of Darkness, so kind of the latest within like a year was like my first time. My first AP was my first time running World of Darkness.
Wow.
System. Yeah, it was a whole thing. I didn't do it for a while because I wasn't too sure. But what really drew me to the system from a bunch of things is kind of the groundedness of it a bit. I do sometimes like to be weird with things, be bombastic when you have a system and letting people do things. But when I had the show in mind for Embers of Rage, which was again the werewolf apocalypse, it was more I needed a groundedness of it, but also still the supernatural side. which World of Darkness really complements. And one of the things I still love today about the system is the sort of how in depth you can get with PC creation. I just did one for a vampire game, and I still amazed about how many ways you can still make a character, and each time it will be different, no matter what kind of story, from silly to serious. It's very wild, and also the harm system as well, because a lot of games you kind of get hit and you kind of like you treat it more like, oh, I got hit, HP, whatever. But with World of Darkness, when you get hit, you get hit, and it really does stick with you, and it adds to the story. So all that was just icing on the cake when it came to it. And of course, the powers are awesome. The way things can get really weird, really fast is always awesome to watch play out.
And Fabian?
Yeah, when I got into World of Darkness as a kind of like Hector said, I was tired of Dungeons and Dragons and I was looking for something else. But prior to that, what got me into like all of like the urban fantasy whole thing is like I used to grow up in like the whole Tumblr era. So like, you know, the people that you date, like they're really into like the the first person that got me into like vampires were like was really into Twilight, but then I got introduced to like Mortal Instruments.
Yeah.
But like the whole integration of like supernatural folk into like our urban setting and like this present setting was so interesting to me. So when I got into vampire, kind of like seeing the possibilities and the stories that you can tell within the realms of like your real world was very interesting, especially the fact that like you can easily integrate and like inject a little bits of yourself and your own culture in it. So I was like, hell yeah, let's play this game.
I'm already straying off my script because I do want to ask Fabian and Hector, since you've been playing it for so long, what sort of like changes have you seen from like past editions to current editions that you really like?
Oh, I really like Hunger Dice.
Yeah.
Like when I finally got a chance to play 5e, which was only in the the past couple of years, I like Hunger Dice a lot. It was a lot to track with the humanity system and the blood traits and like, and then I played a lot of LARP as well. And I don't know, I was reluctant to change, but I didn't think I was going to like the Hunger Dice until I got them in play. And the person that ran it for me had the custom dice, so it was very easy for us to kind of flow through into it, and I loved it. I really like it a lot. I think it's a little bit more representative of the slide into the beast. I think it gets you into like really interesting narrative situations. And there used to be a kind of an issue, or it was an issue for me, which was sort of like the ride down to Humanity Zero, where your players would just do more and more terrible things, to just sort of, and it really kind of, for lack of a better term, dehumanized the entire experience. So having the Hunger Dice and then having like messy criticals and bestial failures, it kind of took me back to the old LARP when the LARP first came out, where you used to collect bestial traits, which were these descriptions that used to kind of impact your character because everything was traits. So that's the rule that I really like. I really like the Hunger Dice and how they impact the game.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with like the Hunger Dice. It gives like a sense of urgency to the player where, like you don't just feed to like power your powers, you feed to keep yourself human. And I think that's the beauty of like the storytelling that current World of Darkness has compared to back then, where I feel like back in like second edition, it really established like you are monsters, and that everything else outside of that is not important. And telling stories about humanity and how the monster is creeping up like behind your back is very much what draws a lot of like people to Vampire the Masquerade. And outside of that, I think the change that I really liked the most was uh definitely thinking about what they wrote back then and retconning things that were a little bit harmful from like the perspective of people of like color.
Mhm.
Especially Kindred of the East is probably like one of my uh least favorite books. But like seeing the work that World of Darkness is doing right now to make things more inclusive is probably one of my favorite things now. It feels that I can be myself in the game.
I do want to jump to the flashback thing because also you were talking about Hector. Like, I wish I could bring you guys back to all of the LARPs that I have been to. I would love to. I wish I could, but
Just the
we
good
do
parts.
just the good parts, the highlights reel.
Hmm.
Uh, but we do have some. I mean, not quite like that in Memoriam. But Fabian, do you want to sort of talk about that? You were very excited, so.
I mean, well, the thing is, like I need to reread a lot of it. So, hey, in memoriam, you should get it once it's out. It's a really good book. Um, and this is not me because like we got a copy or whatever. I really enjoy once you got the base book of Vampire the Masquerade, then we got the player's guide. There is a different like it is very telling that they want you to play a neonate, a fledgling, somebody who's new to this world. But when with in memoriam, it expands your experience playing a character that has been alive for 100, 150, 200 years. And the beauty of, well, more of the tragedy of living for so long and going through so many eras. One of my favorite things is uh it you get to, depending on what age you are, you get to start with bonuses based on how many eras you live in. So there is going to be a list of kind of bonuses, attributes, skills, and stuff like that, like specialties that you get from it. And it expands the experience of the game. Going back to flashback, you know how when you're watching a scene, a movie, and they flash back to a moment in time of the character's life where they're a kid, or when they're old, they're like a teen, and things happen exactly the same, or at least similar situations bore the same kind of message or like lesson.
Yeah.
Flashback play allows you to do that with some tools and examples that they give you with certain characters that you might be able to know in terms of like, these are kindred from that era. Maybe are they still alive? Maybe they're not. But it facilitates you to explore how much you've changed from maybe 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and what kindred unlife has done to you to now.
That's fascinating because in the old days, we used to call those, specifically in Vampire, we used to call those Forever Night moments or Highlander moments. So, Highlander, the TV show, had a lot of flashbacks, a lot of period flashbacks, a lot of journeys through history. Forever Night was another like procedural that was very similar to Highlander, but he was a vampire. Um, and so that also had flashbacks in the same structure as Highlander did. And at the table, whenever we would do flashbacks, or if people were playing elder games or stuff like that, we would call those Forever Night moments. And I am so glad those are coming back because they talked about that in Fabian, did you read Elysium? The old Elysium book?
No, not the old Elysium book.
Oh, okay, okay. Because it sounds like they've taken Elysium and upgraded it and like fleshed it out and made it more interesting. Because Elysium was like this thin.
Mhm.
It wasn't very long. It had a couple of really good essays on like how to play somebody who'd lived a long time. It gave you some essays on how to like do flashback mechanics if you had never done them before. And here are all the cool extra powers you get because you're playing an elder vampire. But this sounds much cooler and much more robust than the old Elysium book.
And it gives like, storytelling is not the easiest thing to do in terms of like running games. It definitely gives you an idea if you're not really savvy in like writing like scenes that are flashback. It gives you a solid foundation to be able to run these scenes, and it gives you examples of other kindred or other characters that you can use, like, kind of like pick and choose to kind of make the scene more robust, more believable, more grounded. And yeah, In Memoriam does a lot of service for you to be able to like live in those moments and kind of look back and then drag them back to the present time and help you deal with your problems within like what's in front of
I
you.
love sitting here and I love listening to the pieces, like, because that's what role-playing games are. They're taking pieces of yourself and they're gently laying them like on the table and saying, hey, welcome to my space, welcome to my world. This is what I want to show you. This is what I want to share with you. Speaking of sharing, I'm getting a little emotional. Uh, I did want to ask, since we're getting towards the end of our time, what advice do you guys have for people who like want to become storytellers, people who are intrigued by maybe World of Darkness in general and haven't touched it at all before?
Mm. Um, I immediately had something leap to my mind, and this is what has always helped me. I read it in multiple World of Darkness books in the storytelling chapter. But know your city. Know your city, know your town, whether it's your hometown, whether it's the place that you plan on running. Learn the history, learn about the people, learn the customs, learn the food, get a map, and I'm not talking about like World of Darkness lore. I'm talking about real world, and then play. Know the city like the back of your hand. And once you have that, everything else will be so much easier and will fall into the place creatively because you're going to have a strong foundation of what to paint the picture of your story inside of. That is my piece of advice. Know your city.
Can't do snaps in these gloves, but snaps. Thank you, Chris.
Um,
Snap, snap, snap.
yeah, I think no, man, that's just a good answer. I think two separate answers. If you're doing stuff for actual play, and I think if you're a person of color, I think World of Darkness is a great kind of like playground to, again, like we were saying, to use your culture as like a stepping stone for your storytelling. Um, Forget about lore. Your lore, along with knowing your city, that's all. Then that's more than enough. Lore is what you want to make it. But if you're just like somebody who is playing with a group of people and you're like, hey, let's try Vampire the Masquerade, um, I think one of the biggest the storytelling advice that I can give you is be vulnerable. Just because you're vampires, just because you're old, doesn't mean you have to be perfect. So be as human as you can be, and that will help you tell the stories that will plague your group for years to come.
Do you have anything you want to add, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, they touched on some great points. I think I would add on to, besides just knowing your city or setting,
Oh,
city or setting, is that also I would suggest understand what kind of story you want to tell. Just because World of Darkness, I understand when you come at it, it's like you have to be serious. This is a serious setting, but you don't have to. There are shows like What We Do in the Darkness, which is kind of like you could run World of Darkness using that. So I think it's important to understand what kind of story you want to tell, because that will lead into not only the way you will tell it, but also the way you present it to people as well. And then you add on to the fact when you know your setting, it all kind of comes very nice together. So really understand what kind of story you want to play and also being upfront with your table of like, hey, I would like to play this kind of story, whether it be AP or whatever, or just, you know, off the cuff. Because, you know, when everybody understands what we're here for, it becomes an easier time to play, whether it's for professional or unprofessional purposes.
Thank you all so much for joining me today for this panel. Thank you so much, our Renegade Con viewers, for being spectacular and super supportive. We were so happy to have all three of you on. Where can people find you guys? Fabian, you go first.
Everybody can find my personal stuff. I am a freelance designer, illustrator. I work with stuff like Kids on Bikes and stuff like that. You can check out my art stuff at Rockets and Pens. And if you want to see the stories that we were talking about earlier, you can check out Bad House RPG, both on Twitch, on YouTube. We have most of our VODs on YouTube. So if you want to check out Darkness Eternal, which is our series of World of Darkness shows, then you have a lot to choose from mage, vampire, hunter, and werewolf. We had it all.
Chris?
Hi, everyone. As I said again, my name is Chris Cologne. You can find me on the great wide interwebs. I'm mostly on Blue Sky, not really Twitter anymore. So you get VO Cologne, that's VOCOLON. There we go. And I remember how to spell my name. You can follow me there, and Taylor Tales, which you can follow over on Blue Sky as well. Right now, we are running and should still be running, if depending on when this comes out, our latest show, the Wildfire Club, which is a kind of Life is Strange game using Kids on Bikes, but a hack where the PCs are powered PCs rather than just random random individuals. I'm working on the hack for that, so hopefully that will be out and it will be free for everybody to use for whatever you want to use it for. And also the Mythic Initiative, I'm finally archiving and uploading those videos and editing it so it's not as for the VODs on Twitch. So we're uploading that. We just did the entirety of season 1, and season 2 is on its way onto YouTube as well. So you can catch it on YouTube with the rest of our other shows we've done on there.
I took off my
yes. I'm Hector Reyes. You can find me at keichiokami.itch.io. On Blue Sky. That is my Blue Sky, I promise you. You can also find me over at House of Dreams AP over on Blue Sky. Those are where I post most of my projects. Please, right now we are running a Season's Oath, which is not World of Darkness. We just finished Dead at Heart, which is our Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle that I was doing promo for, and it just wrapped up. But you can find all of the VODs on our House of Dreams AP YouTube channel. And then we're currently running a Wanderhome charity series right now called The Season's Oath, and it should still be running even as this comes out in June. So please check out my stuff.
Yeah. And I, of course, have been Rina Amaranthin, aka Count Orlok of Nosferatu. And I am your community specialist. So thank you all so much for coming by. And we'll see you for the rest of Renegade Con. Goodbye.